The Tang Dynasty is one of the more well-known dynasties of ancient Chinese history. However, some of the advancements made by the Tang Dynasty are are some of the greatest, and this slideshow presentation will describe all of them. First, let's just start with a brief introduction. Uh, the Tang was a dynasty that was in control of China between 618 CE till 906 to 907 CE. Afterwards, later, during the Tang era, China was launched into its golden age. And in this golden age, many advances were made. But first, let's start with some military advances. The Tang had a very powerful and very organized military. This military had used several types of handheld weapons, long-range weapons, and defense weapons to fight their enemies. These are some examples which are shown here, like the bow and arrow, sword, throwing daggers, armor, and shields. They were focused on expansion and conquest, so that was one of the motives of the Tang military. However, the military might of the Tang Dynasty was actually a result of economic prosperity and advancements in science and technology. This military strength was built up during the reign of Emperor Taizong, who at the time was adept at military strategies and launched several conquest missions against various ethnic groups. So the military might comes from how powerful comes from the prosperity of the economy and advancements in science and technology. And this military consisted over 600,000 men. This was a large military force, especially for its time, and this military force was a force to be reckoned with. Now, let's move on to economic changes. The Tang Dynasty had become wealthy very quickly because they had boasted salt, which, along with silk, was a very popular item that was traded along the Silk Road. But to collect the salt, the Tang Dynasty used salt marshes, which collected seawater, and then the water was let evaporate and left the salt grains. However, the control on salt production was one of the reasons why the Tang Dynasty fell. More on that later, but now let's move on to advances in science, medicine, and engineering. Two new inventions were made. One was the astronomical clock by Yi Xing, which was a clockwork escape mechanism which followed the movements of a clock. The other invention was a wine server, which actually used a hydraulic pump to pull wine out of a reservoir. The Tang also invented gunpowder. This occurred when a Tang chemist mixed various materials together, and when exposed to an open flame, it exploded. This became what we know now as gunpowder. Also, another advancement in medicine was the Tang Dynasty found out about diabetes and treated it using animal thyroid gland extracts. These were from livestock, so pigs and cows, to treat diabetes. However, this wasn't fully used until around 1890. However, all good things must come to an end. The causes for their decline are numerous, but I'm going to but I'm just going to describe a few. One of them was growing power of eknuts, which are eknuts are castrated males, or males that are prevented from reproducing. Before this happened, there was a policy prohibiting eknuts from holding high military positions. This was abolished during the reign of one Tang ruler. However, because of this, these eknuts were able to rapidly gain power until they had until they were either better or even they were either equal to or even better than the government and the political power they imposed. There were also two different cliques, which were made up of two different social groups. These social groups were were not able to get along with each other. So in order to prove who was superior, these two cliques had launched something I am not aware of, and this severely weakened the power and authority that the government had at the time had imposed on these political groups. And this is moving on to the salt monopolies, where various leaders monopolized or had complete control over the production of salt. This was despised amongst the general public, and as a result, this affected the economy negatively. All of these led to the slow and subtle decline of the Tang Dynasty. That's it. That's it for now, and yeah, I will see you people later.